Tuesday's tips and tricks.
Wednesday.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Tuesday's tips and tricks.
On a Wednesday.
I'm Chelsea,
I'm Nathaniel.
and today we're going to be talking about beautiful herbs you can grow in your kitchen and use over the holidays. What is the easiest one to grow, do you think,
So the
Nathaniel?
very easiest one to grow is mint. It'll grow in pretty much any light, so a north, south, east, west, it doesn't care, just light. And the only thing to keep in mind with mint is that you're going to want to keep it watered. It doesn't want to get too dry, but other than that, it makes a beautiful house plant that's very low demand and easy to grow. What would you make with mint, Chelsea?
My favorite thing with mint is to make fresh, hot mint tea. And you'll want to add some honey to bring out the flavor. Also, you can use mint in cocktails over the holidays, maybe some
Yeah.
mojitos. Anyway, but hot tea is my favorite.
So the next easiest plant to grow is going to be basil. So you can grow it from seed if you can't find it for sale anywhere. It's not real picky about light. I would give it east light or better, east facing window or better. I wouldn't do a north window. And then give it some water when it gets dry. Don't let it wilt. It tends to get crispy when it wilts. So.
My absolute favorite thing to cook with basil is pesto. Now, if you make pesto out of your plant, you'll probably end up using the whole plant. But what I like to do is using a little bit of basil and mixing it with spinach or some other kind of green to make a really good pesto. Up next, we have rosemary.
Rosemary is a very easy one to grow indoors. You'll see them around Christmas time in grocery stores starting to die. Usually they're in that foil and they're too wet. So put it in a terracotta pot, let it dry out and give it plenty of sun. It'll be real easy.
Rosemary is very, very flavorful. One little pinch of this can make something taste like it a lot. So don't overdo it. But rosemary is obviously something you're going to be cooking with your meats and in your stuffing and in breads. It goes in anything really.
Yeah.
And it smells so good. Next up we have parsley.
Parsley. So I don't have a parsley on the table either. Parsley is a very easy to grow plant, not very demanding. Give it good light, so probably again east facing window minimum, with south or west being better. It'd probably be happy in a terracotta pot or clay pot of some kind so it's porous and dries out well. Free draining potting mix. And then just water it when it's dry. Make sure it's dry before you water it. It'll probably wilt a little bit if you go a little too long, but that shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't crispify as long as you get to it before it gets really bad.
Now parsley, I personally don't think it really adds much flavor, but what it really adds is color and it makes things look beautiful. So up next we have oregano.
Oregano is a pretty easy one to grow. We're starting to step towards a little bit more challenging though, so it will take a little bit more intention to grow it indoors. I would put it in west or south window. It's going to want lots of light. I would not try to stretch this in an east window. If you don't have a west or south window with full sun exposure, then I would do like a nice grow light on it with long duration. So that means you're going to run it for 12 to 14 hours throughout the day over this. It wants to dry out really well, just like the rosemary between watering. So if you're going to grow it indoors, I'd put it in a terracotta pot. And other than that, it's really pretty easy as long as you give it lots of light and don't drown it.
And oregano is pretty easy. Anything that is Italian food, you're going to put it in.
Yeah.
Pizza, sauce, anything Italian, you're going to stick it in there and it's going to taste great. Next we have is cilantro.
Cilantro. I wouldn't grow this one because I hate it. But if you like cilantro, it should be a pretty easy one to grow. It's going to want plenty of sunlight, well-drained soil, kind of like generic herb care.
Now cilantro, I personally love it. Nathaniel hates it. He thinks it tastes like soap. I think it tastes amazing. And I love to put it in on tacos. I like to put it in my salsa. I like to put it in chili on top of chili. It makes a great garnish if you like the flavor. If you don't, then mix it and don't put it in your kitchen.
Yeah.
But I think it's wonderful, and the smell of it is just intoxicating. So up next we have chives.
Chives are an easy plant to grow. I'd give them probably south or west for the best growth, densest growth, to keep them from getting scraggly like these guys are. But they'd probably grow in a east-facing window. They just might be a little bit thin. When you harvest, I pulled these up, so but leave these bulbs in the ground. Don't pull them out because you're just going to use the greens, and cut the greens and they'll re-sprout and you'll be able to do that over and over again as long as you let them grow back out. Water when dry, and give them the best light you can.
In chives, they go great in dips, like sour cream based dips. They also go great in soups. I like to put either chives or green onions in my egg drop soup, and it tastes great and it looks pretty. So up next we have sage.
Sage is a beautiful plant. It's got beautiful fuzzy hairy leaves that have a lot of texture and interest. There's different color as well of foliage. There's purple, green, tricolor. They do need lots of sun. These are going to go downhill fast if you try to give them less light. So put them in a south or west facing window, and maybe even better yet, get yourself a grow light and hang it right above the plant so it gets lots of light. And they want to dry out really well between waterings. They don't like to get overwatered, especially in the house. But as long as you give them sun and good drainage, they should go well for you.
And nothing screams Thanksgiving meal than sage. So you're probably going to be using that a lot this week. Whatever you want to put it in, you put it in there and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the bottom here, so we're getting into more difficult territory. Next up we have thyme. Time after time.
Time for time. So, enough with the puns. Thyme is a really cute little plant. It's got a really dainty appearance. Outdoors in the landscape, it's tough as nails. Inside, it can be a little bit more challenging because it wants lots of light, good air circulation so it doesn't get any fungal problems, and reasonably dry conditions. I mean, it wants a drink when it dries out, but it wants to get dry before it gets a drink. So you're, again, stepping up in difficulty, but it would be fun to grow and to try. It comes in all different colors. There's woolly thyme that's fuzzy. There's variegated ones that have yellow edges on little tiny leaves, which is really cute. Again, I would step this into the category if you might be able to do this in a south-facing window, but you'd probably do better with it under a grow light.
And thyme is, again, one of those things you're going to be cooking with your meats and your roasted vegetables and your stuffing and all the things that you're going to be cooking this week. So, last but not least, now we've kind of gone through all the food things, but next we have lavender. So, you can bake with it, but we brought up lavender mainly because the holidays can be really stressful.
Yes.
With all the family there and people talking about things that make everyone uncomfortable. So whenever you need a chance to breathe, just go over to your lavender plant, take a big whiff of it, and de-stress a little bit.
Lavender is a beautiful plant. There's all kinds of lavender. If I had my choice, I would not grow a hardy lavender indoors. It's going to do better if it can be dormant over the winter. I would go with like an annual lavender or one that's not hardy in our zone. So like this fern leaf lavender is super easy to grow. Lavender wants as much sun as possible. So
all the sun.
All the sun. South window is what I would recommend. Maybe you have that extra green thumb and you have luck with it elsewhere, but I would recommend a south window or a grow light. It wants to dry out between waterings. If sage is intolerant of overwatering, lavender is like intolerant to the max. It hates too much water. Number one way to kill it is overwatering. So let it get good and dry between waterings, give it a soak, dry out, lots of sun.
Now this next one
is
a little bonus. We're going to be talking about aloe vera. Not because you're going to cook with it, but in the kitchen with lots of people, there's a better chance that you're probably going to get burned. So in that case, that's when you're going to whip out your aloe vera, smear that on your owies, and get a little healing touch.
Now aloe vera could be at the beginning of this list as far as ease of growth. Super easy to grow. Probably even easier than mint, because if you forget about this for 2 months, it'll just keep growing.
Fine.
Put it in light. Ideal light's probably east facing window or brighter, but it would grow in the north. And forget about it for weeks at a time, and then when you remember it's there, give it a drink when it's good and bone dry, and then let it be forgotten again.
Yeah. So that's your Tuesday's tips and tricks on a Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. We hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving full of delicious food and family and love and friends. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time.